Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Maseches CHULLIN Daf Kuf Beis. We are holding at the Tanu Rabbanon on Kuf Aleph Amud Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. Okay, so today we discussed the din of Eiver min Hachai. One is not allowed to consume a part plucked off a live animal. The question is, does it apply to behema, chaya? What about a bird? What about unkosher species? Tanu Rabbanon, here comes a brisa with a big machlokes. Eiver min hachai, the prohibition to consume an eiver min hachai, what does it apply to? Noeg behema, it applies to behemoths, to the more domesticated types. Chaya, even to a chai, which is a less domesticated variety. V'oiv, even to fowl, even to birds. Bein temein, ubein tahirin, whether it's tamei, here tamei means unkosher variety, ubein tahirin, or of the kosher variety. Divrei, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. It's all encompassing, it applies in all situations. Behema, chaya, oiv, tahir, tamei. And also the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. However, Chachamim, they disagree. They say it's limited to only kosher types. Einoi noheg ela b'tahir. What's the machlekes based on? Ushnein, and both opinions are rooted in the same exact pasuk. Ushneim mikra echad doshu. Let's take a look at the pasuk, which they expound on. The pasuk says, "Rak chazak." Look, be careful. Don't consume blood. Now, the issue of consuming blood applies to all types of animals, behema, chaya, and bird, right? Why do not eat blood? Ki adam hu nefesh. Because in the dam we have the life force of the animal. You're not meant to consume that. And the pasuk continues, we're on the next page. Lo yiseichal hanefesh im habasar, which Rashi explains, is referring to eiver min hachai. Don't consume from this basar while the nefesh is still embedded in it, while the animal is still alive. So you see in the very same pasuk we have a reference to refraining from blood and refraining from eiver min hachai. Comes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Elazar and make that connection. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Sabri, they hold it's linked to each other. Kol shata matzuva al dami, any animal whose blood they're not meant to consume, which means basically anything. Behema, chaya, oiv, tamei, tahir. Likewise, ata matzuva, you're commanded to refrain from plucking off a part. Alei barav. V'hanit me'inami. And likewise, these unkosher types of animals, they're also covered by the Isra of Dam. You're not meant to consume their blood. Rashi explains, based on the Gemara and Krisis, the only ones that are accepted from the Isra of Dam are the shrotzim, creatures, fish. You can have the blood of a fish. Chagavim, grasshoppers, malchishtaim, human beings. Believe it or not, there's no Isra of minatayr, of eating dam of an adam. That's it. But otherwise, any behema, any chaya, any oif, whether tamei or tar, are covered by the Isra of Dam, and correspondingly the Isra of Eiver min hachai, which are linked to each other. Okay, so v'hani tamei nami, these tamei types as well. Since you may not consume their blood, you may not consume their ivarim. No, v'rabbanon sabri, Rabbanon hold no. The pasuk is essentially saying, look, be careful, wait until the life force leaves the animal, then eat the basar, indicating that there are two sides to this equation, two sides to this coin. Do not eat eiver min hachai, do not eat the basar while still embedded with the life force of the animal, but do eat the basar once it's freed of that life force, if the animal was shechted. So eiver min hachai is linked to the permissibility of consuming the basar. And clearly this only applies to a kosher animal, whose basar you can consume, right? But Rabbanon Sabri, they hold, look, the pasuk says, basar. Do not consume the basar while still permeated with the nefesh. Meaning, don't pluck a piece off an animal. Rather, ela basar chudei. Rather, only eat the basar while it's on its own, meaning once it's been freed of its life. So we connect the two sides of this equation. Kol shebsarim mutar, any animal whose basar is permissible, meaning it's of the kosher type. So on the flip side, ata mitzvah alei barav. You cannot consume the aver of that animal while still living. But v'chol she'ein basari mutar, but an animal which in any case you can't eat the basar, such as an unkosher type, likewise, iyata matzuva levarov, there's no isser ever nachai. Okay, so here go the two opinions, based on the same pasuk. One says, look, the pasuk is linking isser of dam with the isser of ever nachai, which applies to all types of animals. Whereas the Rabbanan say, it's two sides of the same equation. Do eat the basar, do not eat ever menachai, but that only applies to a kosher animal whose basar is mutter. Now, it was Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Eliezer who seemed to base their opinion that ever menachai is all-encompassing on the pasuk which links ever menachai to Isser Abdam, which is all-encompassing as well. Now the question is, Rabbi Yehuda, according to him, Lama Lekra, why do we need a new pasuk? That ever menachai is all-encompassing, and even applies to an unkosher type, even without the pasuk. I would already know that. Leisi, let it come. Isser, Eva, the Isser Eva Nachai should come along. Leichel, and land al Isser Tum on the Isser of the unkosher animal. Because Isser Eva Nachai is a more extensive, all-encompassing Isser. Shekeni Yissuroi Noyeg Bibnei Noyach. Eva Nachai was initiated way back when, before Matan Torah. It even applied to the Goyim. And Rashi brings, wasn't this the very basis for Rabbi Yehuda's opinion way back in Daf Kuf, that Isser Gid Hanasha likewise re-applicable to an unkosher animal for this very same reason, because it's more extensive, it applies to Bnei Noach as well. So even without a new pasuk here, I would already know. The same principle is applicable to Ever Menachai. Enochanami, you're right. Even without this pasuk, the pasuk was needed for Rabbi Eliezer. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's a more simple approach to explaining why, in fact, Ever Menachai applies to the Tmeya as well. So although it's also on account of Tmeya, but the Isser Ever Menachai latches on as well because it's more encompassing. We find the same in the Braisa, that in fact, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbanan are based on this very same pasuk. Ever Menachai noig b'behem chai v'oif. Bein Tmeya u'bein tahira. How do we know Ever Menachai applies to all types? Shanamar rak chazak. Be careful. Don't consume the blood of an animal. Kol shata matzuv al dam. We learn any situation where you can't eat blood, you can't eat Ever Menachai as well. Ata matzuv al livarav. V'chol sheyata matzuv al dam. In a case where there's no issue eating the blood, yata matzuv al livarav. There's no issue Ever Menachai. The blood. So according to him, we know that Ever Menachai applies in all cases where there is an Isser of dam. V'chachamim oimrim. They say no. The do and the don't are two sides of the equation. Do not eat Ever Menachai, but do eat it while its nefesh is gone, which indicates that it's only applicable to a kosher type. Ever Menachai only applies to tahir types, permissible animals. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, do not consume the basar while still embedded with the nefesh. Rather, wait until the nefesh leaves. And we learn, a kosher animal whose basar is mutter, do keep away from the Ever Menachai of that animal. However, an animal whose basar is not mutter, like a tamei type, there's no Isser Ever Menachai. Okay, so far we have two opinions. According to Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Eliezer, Ever Menachai applies all around. Behema, Chaya, Oif, Tamei, Torah. According to Rabban, only Torah. Rameir, here comes a third shita. It applies only to Torah, but even within the Torah, it's only limited to Behema, as opposed to birds. It only applies to Behemoths. So only to Behemah, not to Chaya, not even to Chaya, not to Eifes. Why? So it's the third shita, right? Ever Menachai is only by Behemah. A Behemah which is Tar. Behemah Torah Blavat. Why? Here comes the reason. Lots of names. Amar Rabba Bar Shmuel, he quotes Amar of Chizda, and some say Vitem, and some say he quoted Rav Yosef. Amar, there was another version of who quoted whom. It was Amar Rabba Bar Shila, he quoted Amar of Chizda, Vitem, and some say he quoted Rav Yosef. But Amar, there was yet a third version of who informed us of this information. It was Rabba Bar Simi who quoted Amar of Chizda, Vitem, and some say he quoted Rav Yosef. Okay, what is the reason? My time with the Rameir who says Ever Menachai is only by Behema Torah, Amakra. Because the pasuk thereafter, where it discusses Ever Menachai, it says V'zavachta, Amakra v'zavachta me'bekarcha u'mitzayncha. These are Behema varieties, cattle and light, sheep. Tzayin is, sheep or goats, so it's limited to the Behema class only. So you have three shitas in terms of the scope of Ever Menachai. According to Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Lazar, Behema Chai v'oif tameh v'toher. Rabbanon say Behema Chai v'oif toher. Rabbi Meir says Behema toher v'lvad. Amar Rav Gidol Marav. You should know this whole discussion of whether or not Ever Menachai applies to the unkosher type is only by a Yisrael. Who must refrain from the Behema Tmeya. And likewise, as we said, it's two sides of the same coin. If you can't eat the basar, there's no Isser Ever Menachai. But by a guy, we said before, a guy is commanded to keep away from Ever Menachai. And by him, there's no concept of Tameh and Tor. All varieties are acceptable for him. So by him, Ever Menachai applies to all types, even Behema, Tameya, etc. Amar B'Gidol Marav, Machlokes, this whole discussion. And the opinion which says that it only applies to certain things, that's be Yisrael by a Yid. Avo b'ben Noyach. But by a guy, Divrei HaKol all agree Muzar ala Tmein K'Tahirin applies to unkosher behema, unkosher chaya, right? Just like it applies to the kosher types. Now, according to Reb Meir, it would only apply to the behema family. But in any case, the point is that it applies even to unkosher types. Divrei HaKol all agree, Muzar ala Tamein K'Tahirin. Tanya Nam Yochel, you find the same in a Brisa, that it depends who he is. A Yisrael is limited. A guy, by him it makes no difference if it's Tamei or Tor. Tanya Nam Yochel, Ever Menachai, Ben Noyach, even a guy, Muzar olav ala Tamein K'Tahirin. There you go. By him it applies to Tamei as well. But by the Yisrael, by a Yid, Einoi Muzar El ala Tahirin Milvad only applies to Tahirin. Now, the Brisa cites a plural term, Tahirin. Some learned Tahira. You have to fix it to Tahira. It's singular. Because it only applies to one type of Tahira. Rameir, like Rameir says, that it only applies to Behema family. Some had a different version, Tahirim. It's actually plural. Because it applies to Behema, Chaya, and Oiv. And that's like Rabbanan, according to the Rabbanan, that applies to all those as well. Amar Rav Shezvi, says Rav Shezvi, Af Anana Metanin, I'll even find you another proof from a Mishnah to Rav Gidol's point, that although by a Yisrael it's limited by a guy, it applies even to Tameya types. Af Anana Metanina. Ochal, so this is a Mishnah, Maseches Taharos, which discusses an Oif Tameh, an unkosher bird. So it says like this. Ochal, a Yid sat down to eat it. Ochal Ever Menachai Mimena, ate a limb off this unkosher bird. Well, it's Tameh, there's no Ever Menachai, right? Einoi Soifig, Arboim will not get Malkus, because, there's no Isser Ever Menachai by the unkosher type. And then the Mishnah continues with a perplexing statement. Ve'ein shechita metarasa. You should know that the shechita on this unkosher bird will not be metayirit. Will not make it permissible. Now, of course not. It's unkosher to begin with. How could shechita make it kosher, right? But now who's eating it? Who does this pertain to? Ilam Yisrael. We're talking about a Yid eating it? Well, of course, pshita, the ein shechita metarasa. Of course, the shechita will not turn into a non-kosher bird into a kosher bird. Apparently, the second part of this Mishnah refers to a guy. And the Mishnah is teaching us that even though the bird underwent a shechita experience, the guy cannot eat it. It's still considered somewhat alive until it actually fully depletes itself of its life, any elements of life. So it's still flapping around, you can't eat it. Machlal da'asar, apparently, by a guy, there is Eiver ben Achai status even by an unkosher bird, and that proves our point. Rav Mani bar Patish, he also brought a raya from this Mishnah, Rami Reisha Asefo Meshani. So he sort of presented it as a contradiction between the first part of the Mishnah, which indicated that there's no Eiver ben Achai by an unkosher bird, versus the second part of the Mishnah, which indicated otherwise. Umeshani, and he gave this solution. Reisha Bi Yisrael, the first part is talking about a Yid, where there's no Eiver ben Achai by an unkosher type, whereas the second part of the Mishnah is talking about a Ben Noyach, where there is Eiver ben Achai even by an unkosher type, which supports our point. Next point. Next halacha regarding Eiver ben Achai. Quantity. How much is considered Eiver ben Achai? Do you need to have a kazayis, which is typically the minimum amount of Isser material that one must consume to be liable? A shear of a kazayis. What about an Eiver ben Achai? It's a full entity, right? A full limb. But it's a small toe. Less than a kazayis in volume. Does it qualify for liability or not? Amar Rav, yep. Eiver ben Achai tzarich kazayis. You know it's an Eiver ben Achai, it's a full entity, it's a full limb. He will not be held accountable until he eats a kazayis. So it has to be that size. My time at why achila ksivabe. Because the pasuk, in warning against eating Eiver ben Achai, uses the word achila, consuming. Consuming means a kazayis, just like anywhere in the Torah. Achila ksivabe. Moshe Rav Amram, I have a question. He says from this Mishnah just quoted, Ochal Eiver ben Achai mimeno eino yisayv v'kasar boim. He ate an Eiver off this unkosher bird. There's no malchus. Now, the reason why he's not chayiv is because, like we said, Eiver ben Achai does not apply to an unkosher type. Now, how much did he eat? How large was this Eiver ben Achai? It had to be a minimum of a kazayis, otherwise there's nothing to talk about, right? It's only up for consideration because there's a kazayis there. Now, according to you, the starting point is that the Eiver ben Achai is a kazayis, then of course he should get malchus. Okay, skip the Eiver ben Achai issue. Notwithstanding that Eiver ben Achai is not applicable, but it's an unkosher bird. Typically, look, he should be liable for malchus the kahal kazayis. There's a gersa tamei. He had a kazayis of unkosher material. That in itself is reason enough to give him malchus. And personality, unkosher birds. Says the Gemara, you can have it both ways. On the one hand, it was actually a kazayis, but not a kazayis of flesh, of edible material. So the total size of this Eiver ben Achai was a kazayis, but it was comprised of a very small, minute amount of flesh, which is edible, and the rest was inedibles. Bone material, sinews. So for Eiver ben Achai, that would be sufficient. Right, there are two halachas. There's basar ben Achai and Eiver ben Achai. A piece of flesh of a live animal has to be a kazayis of basar, edible material, to be chayiv. But there's something called Eiver ben Achai. As long as it's a full limb, comprise a little bit of basar, gidin matzamis, and in the total, the sum total is a kazayis. That's enough to hold him liable. That's what happened here. So even though it was a kazayis, but since it wasn't a kazayis of basar, he will not be chayiv on account of eating oif tamei, which requires a kazayis of edible material, which he doesn't have. And since there's no Eiver ben Achai by an oif tamei, he's totally potter. Okay, Kedamar of Nachman, as Rav Nachman had told us regarding a different point we'll see coming up soon. B'mashu, Basar was speaking that there's only a minute amount of edible flesh in this package, and it's sort of topped off with gidim b'atzamis, sinews, bones, which make up the difference. Achanami, we're talking about that very type of configuration. B'mashu Basar, a small amount of Basar with gidim b'atzamis completing the kazayis. Tashma, comes another kasha. Rav says that you need a kazayis to be liable for Eiver ben Achai. And Rav himself told us elsewhere something which seemed to say otherwise. Tashmad Amarav, we turn to Talmud base. Ochal tzipor tahira b'chayah. So he has a kosher bird, and he gobbled it up alive. Okay, he's chayiv because it's Eiver ben Achai, and we're speaking that it's small, b'kolshu, despite its smallness and size. There you go. This is Rav speaking. which seems to contradict Rav's earlier statement that a kazayis is needed. We'll continue the brisa. It will continue the halacha b'misasa. Now, if this kosher animal dies, and now he eats it, it's an avela, a kazayis. Only chayiv if it's a kazayis, because for an avela you need a kazayis. Part 2 of the halacha is utmeya. Let's say it's an unkosher type. Bein b'chaya, whether we ate it alive. There's no din of ever b'nachai, so bein b'misasa, or after it died. In which case, he's chayav because Rashi says it's called a bria. It's a forbidden entity. Unkosher bird is a full entity of forbidden material. It's called a bria. It's an entity of Isra. So therefore, b'chol shu. So again, irrespective of his size, he gets malchus. So again, we have the second part of the halacha, which was a non-kosher bird, which is an entity of Isra. It was created as an entity of Isra. It's called a birya. You don't need a sheer kazayis. Its prominence, its chashivas makes up for its lack of quantity. So despite its smallness and size, he's chayiv, whether alive or dead, he's chayiv because he ate an unkosher bird. In the first part of the halacha, we had a kosher bird, tziba tahira. So it depends. If you ate it alive, there's eivim and achai. He's chayiv even for smaller a bird. You don't need a kazayis. Whereas if it died, then the problem is because it's an avela. Now by an avela, you need a kazayis. And you don't say that it's a birya because, look, the Isra and avela only arrived later, after its death. It wasn't created as an avela. So there's no... It's not classified as an avela entity from inception, from creation. It's a regular piece of meat, which is now usher as an avela. It doesn't define its essence. It's not an avela essence, right? It's a bird, kosher bird. Now that it died, you can't eat it because it's a dead bird, so it has to be a kazayis like any other forbidden material. But if you ate it alive, that's a chai, even a chai. It's chai even for a small bird. That contradicts Rav's statement of Amar Aleph, that you need a kazayis. Achanami says the Gemara here too. We can explain, as we said, that really, in totality, it has a kazayis. B'mashu basar, has a small amount of basar, and gidmat samayis, complete the shear and top it off to a kazayis. And that's why it's chayiv on account of ivim and achai. Tashmai comes another right from a brisa. It's a kasha on Rav, not al tzipor. Okay, again, Rav tells us that for ivim and achai you need a kazayis to be liable. Tashma, not al tzipor she'en b'kazayis. Here the brisa clearly is relating to a kosher bird that has no kazayis. Okay, it's a teeny bird. V'chala eats it. He eats it when it's still alive. You would think it's Ever Menachai. No, Rebbe Poiter, Rebbe exempts him. He holds that Ever Menachai means a part plucked off a bird, plucked off an animal. If you eat the whole thing as one, that's a bird. It's not an Ever Menachai. Rav Lezer Shimon Mechayiv, he says he's liable for Ever Menachai because he says even when it's full, whole, complete, alive, it's sort of comprised of limbs. The bird is sort of the sum total of its limbs. It's still quantified, classified as Aver ben Achai. Interesting machlokes, right? Okay. And he comes and pushes his point. Amar Rav Lezer Shimon. Kal v'chaymer, look, listen to a piece of logic. Al Aver ben Achai. You agree that if he plucks off a piece, it's Chayv, it's Aver ben Achai. Al Kul Koshka. And of course, if he takes the whole thing as one, certainly it's worse. Okay, let's say it died. He choked it, it died, so now it's a dead bird. All agree in this case, it's just an avela. He's only chayiv if he had a kazayis of material. Okay, let's go back and review the machlekes. Ad kan pligi. So it's pretty clear that machlekes is only if he ate a full, complete, whole live bird. It's a question of definition. The Ela Damar Savar B'chayeh Leivar Memedes. Reb Lezer. Reb Shimon maintains that even a live bird, Leivar Memedes, is considered Rashi says Lanat Choimedes. It's slated for dissection, which means to say that we view it as a compilation of limbs, of parts. And if one consumes its entire bundle of parts, he has committed Eivah Menachai. Umar Savar, Rebbe disagrees. He says, look, it's a bird. It's not a finger and a hand and a foot and a toe. It's an entity. It's a complete entity. It's not a compilation of limbs. It's not classified as Eiver min HaChai. Umar Sover B'Chayeh, during his lifetime, Lav Le'Eivar Memedes, is not viewed as a compilation of Eivar. But the Kuli Alma Mia Loy Bein Kazais. But it's clear that according to all Shittos, liability of Eivar min HaChai is even by less than a Kazais. Look, the Brisa was talking about a bird which is smaller than a Kazais, and Elazar Shimon responded, he says, if a part of this would trigger liability, certainly the entire thing. So clearly you don't need a Kazais for Eivar min HaChai. According to all Shittos. I'm Rav Nachman. Oh, here comes Rav Nachman and resolves it. V'mashu basar. Of course, in total you have a Kazais. We're speaking there's only a small amount of flesh, of edible material. And there are gidim, plenty of gidim, v'atzamayis, that make up for the difference. It says the Gemara, how practical is that? Look, picture it, you have a whole bird, which doesn't even have a kazayis of basar, and the whole bird. You can't even find, 3 ounces of flesh in that entire bird. And here we speak about plucking off just one toe, and in that toe you'll have enough basar that if you top it off with some gidim and atzamayis, you'll have a kazayis. How practical is that? Is that practical that we have a situation to be kulei less be kazayis basar? If you count the basar throughout the entire bird, you don't even come up with a kazayis in total. And even in one aver, you can find enough basar that if you add it together with the isbe kazayis, but mashu basar, you add it together with the gidim vatzamis, you have a kazayis of material in total. Amarav shrabi in, yeah, but kalanisa, there's some sort of weak, poor quality bird. And the Rebbe Gershon says has little flesh and lots of bones, so you can end up with this type of configuration. Now, the Gemara knew that kalanisa is actually an unkosher bird, and this brisa is clearly speaking about kosher birds. How do I know? Ema Seifa. Because look at the second part of that brisa. So first we spoke about eating the bird alive, but then it says Chanka va'achal, he choked it, he killed it, and he eats from this bird. So now how much does he have to eat to be chayiv? If it's a eif tameh, we learned before, even if it's very small, it's a beria, it's an unkosher entity, which triggers liability even without being a kazayis. But here the brisa specifies, Divrei HaKol all agree, but kazayis, he's only chayiv yet a kazayis. And that rule would only fit if it's a kosher type of bird, in which case it's not an entity, a forbidden entity. It's only also because it happened to die, it's an avela. Okay, forbidden material requires a kazayis for liability. Different kazayis all agree needs to be a kazayis. But if you're saying it's a kalanisa bird, which is a oiv tamayu, it's an unkosher bird. V'amar Rav, and Rav told us earlier, right on top of the page, tameya, if it's an unkosher type, then size is not a factor, right? It's a beria, even small, triggers liability. Tameya being mechayeh, whether ate alive, whether after death, b'maj, even if it's small. Look, ain't kalanisa, you're right. We didn't mean technically a kalanisa bird. We meant, kosher bird, which is has similar features to the kalanisa, short on flesh and big on bones. Okay, in any case, Rav did teach us that for Chiv of Eivar min HaChai, you have a kazayis. But, as we pointed out, the kazayis can be comprised of a small amount of edible material, which is topped off with atzamas and gidim. As long as in totality you have a kazayis, he's chayiv on account of Eivar min HaChai. Now, we have an interesting machlokes. All agree, if you pluck off a piece, it's called Eivar min HaChai. But if you eat the entire animal as one, you swallow the whole bird as one. Interesting machlokes, right? Rabbi says, you're potter, that's not called Eivar. Right? Because right now, it's alive, it's not meant to be consumed in this manner until, after Shechita, whereas according to Elazar Shimon, we view the bird as merely a compilation of Eivarim. So if he eats the whole bird, certainly he has committed Eivar min HaChai. Amar Rava. Says Rava, if you'll submit to the following. Sava Rebbe holds, machshavas oichlin. A person's thought process, a person's designation. Shema machshava can have an effect on the said material. Okay, so if a person decided in his mind he's going to consume something in a certain manner, that will impact that material. Machshava has an effect. Now we think just, words or actions can have an effect. No, our thought process is very powerful and can be impactful. Right? And Allah, we find this all over. Machshava, right? Gives chashivas, can redesignate, can reclassify something. So if that's the case regarding food matter, according to Rebbe, machshava is oich l'shma machshava. So picture it like this: chishev lo oich le'ever. So he had a mind to eat this bird piece by piece. Okay, decided to eat it alive like this, piece by piece. And then he consumed the entire thing as one. He's chayiv because he has now redesignated it as a compilation of Eivar. Right? So its default position is we consider it as a bird entity, not a collection of Eivar. But if he redesignates it, regards it as merely just a collection of bones, then if he picks off a piece, if he eats the bird, it's Eivar Menachai. So even if he eats it entirely as one entity, it's chayiv. Because he has indicated that he's viewing them as separate limbs. That's called Eivar Menachai. So again, chishev lo oich le'ever. If you intend on eating them separately, v'achal kuli ate it all as one. Chayiv. Amalei Abai, how could you say so? Is it so personal? I mean, omika midi, how can you have a situation? Imagine if the next person eats it, loy mechayiv is not chayiv because it's not an Eivar. V'achal hay mechayiv, if he eats it, he's chayiv because it's an Eivar. Amalei says, yeah. Each person according to his own taste, according to his own mindset. Zel if he machshavtoi, every person according to his machshav. Ve'amar Rabbi comes another halacha in the reverse. Im timtzalema savar was Reb Shimon. Machshavas echel shma machshav. Likewise, we can apply the same principle to Reb Shimon. Designation, mindset will be impactful and can reclassify an item. So let's say chishev lo ichla meisa. He has a bird and he intended on eating it after its death. So now he's indicating to us, he's confirming to us that it's not yet considered a vermin. It's not meant to be consumed as a vermin during its lifetime. And now he turns around, he ate it alive, as is potter. It's not chayiv, it's Eivar Menachai, because he had just sort of cancelled its Eivar status by his intention to eat it only later after death. Only Abai, once again, Abai asks, is it really so personal? Omika, how can you have a scenario? Imagine the person down the block eats it as chayiv, because for him it's considered a vermin. This person who had intended on waiting until after death eats it, he's patur because no longer considered Eivar Menachai. Amalei says, yep, each person according to his own taste. So the person who intended on waiting till after Misa, if he eats it during its lifetime, for him it's not considered Eivar Menachai, because he cancelled the Eivar status from it. So if he eats it, meaning if he eats it all as one bird, it's a bird, it's not a compilation of Eivar. Whereas the other person down the road who eats it, for him it's considered merely a collection of Eivar, even during the animal's lifetime, meaning even if he eats it as one, complete bird as one, we view it as a compilation of Eivar, is chayiv as Eivar Menachai. Okay, comes a new piece. On Rabbi Yechanan, we're going to deal with 3 forbidden matters. Eivar, a limb plucked off an animal. Basar, just a piece of meat plucked off an animal. And also basar of a treif, of an ill, injured animal. Where do we know these halachas? Amar Rabbi Yechanan, lo yisoichal hanefesh basar. Don't eat the basar, which still contains its nefesh. From here we learn, ze Eivar Menachai. Person cannot eat a limb plucked off a live being. And Rashi explains that that's why it's referred to as nefesh. He says just like the person's nefesh will not return. Once you take away the nefesh, it doesn't come back. Likewise, this limb, once it's removed, it can't regrow, can't regenerate. So the pasuk here is alluding to Eivar Menachai. We have another pasuk in Shemais, Ubasar basada treifa leisechelu. Don't eat basar basada treifa. It says Rabbi Yochanan. It's alluding to two basars which are us. Is there basar benachai or basar benatreifa? So basar basada out in the field, they're referring to basar benachai, plucked off the animal, doesn't belong away from the animal. That's basada. And treifa is referring to a basar, meat off a treifa animal. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, we have one pasuk which alludes to meat. Basar benachai and basar benatreifa. And the Ever benachai is the other pasuk. That's his opinion. Shem Malaka Shamar, he says no. The first pasuk refers to Ever benachai and basar benachai. Is it Ever benachai or basar benachai? They both learn from the same pasuk. Whereas the other pasuk is only on the treifa. Basar basar treifa leisechelu. Zeh, it's referring to basar benatreifa. Okay, now let's move around the puzzle pieces and see how much liability is there for eating all these things. Achal Ever benachai or basar benachai. Imagine a person eats Ever benachai and basar benachai in the same sitting, under one warning, right? Now the Rabbi Yochanan chayiv shtaim, according to Rabbi Yochanan, he's chayiv too. Why? Because they're coming from two different psukim, two different warnings. He violated two separate transgressions. Ever benachai is one pasuk, basar benachai another. However, the Pshin Malakish, who says that Ever benachai and basar benachai are rooted in the same pasuk, only get one malchus. Because it's based on the same lav. Rashi explains, since it was eaten together under the same warning, and it's one lav, you only chayiv one. Next case, Achal basar benachai basar benatreifa. He ate two pieces of meat, one benachai, one benatreifa. Now the tables turn. The Rav Shimon Lakish, according to him, chayiv shtaim, chayiv two, because they're two different psukim. The Rabbi Yochanan, however, and chayiv la'achas, because according to him, meat and meat are from the same pasuk, right? Third case, Achal Ever benachai basar benatreifa. He ate Ever benachai and basar benatreifa, which according to all shittas are sourced in two different psukim. Well, Divrei HaKoil all agree, chayiv shtaim is chayiv twice. But I mean, we have a kasha. Really, all agree? We turn to the next page. Achal Ever benachai benatreifa. So he had an Ever benachai, which was actually from a treifa as well. So he pulled the Ever off the treifa while it's alive. Rabbi Yochanan Amar chayiv shtaim is chayiv twice. One because it's Ever benachai, one because it's a treifa. Rabbi Shimon Lakish Amar ein chayiv la'achas. According to him, it's only one. Whoa, how? Bishlam Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, I can fully understand. Two different transgressions, two different sources, two different psukim, two different liabilities. Ela Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Kasha, according to him, why is it only one? Liability for both. Two different psukim. Rav Yosef. Here's their answer. Like Kasha. Listen, Kama Beima Achas. We're speaking as the same animal. And that's why he's only chayiv one for both violations. Kam b'shtei behemis. Earlier, when we said there are two malchus, that's because they're coming from different animals. He ate Ever benachai from behema 1 and basar from treifa B. B'shtei behemis. They're hailing from two animals. Of course, machayiv shtaim is chayiv twice. But if it's one piece from the same animal, which happens to be minachai and treifa, behema achas, pligi, that's when we have a machlekes. Where according to Rabbi Yochanan it's 2, according to Rish Lakish it's 1. But behema achas my pligi. So what would be the basis for the disagreement? Basis for the machlekes? When it's coming from the same animal, why would you be chayiv 2? Why 1? Here comes the whole Gemara. We'll get to it Be'ez Hashem tomorrow to explain several explanations why he says 2, he says 1. Okay, in a nutshell, we'll do a quick recap of today's daf. We have the shaila of the extent of Isra Ever benachai. We have 3 shittos. According to some, it applies to all types. Behema chayiv va'oif tami v'torah. According to the Chacham, only to the Torah varieties. According to Rameh, only behema Torah. But according to Rav Gidl Amarav, it applies to this whole thing only applies to Yisrael, but by a goy, it applies even to Tamei as well. Furthermore, according to Rav, we need a kazayis to be chayiv for Ever benachai. But the kazayis can be comprised of only a small portion of basar complemented with gidim ba'atsamais. An interesting shaila, what's the status of a behema during its lifetime? Is it merely a compilation of a vermin, in which case Ever benachai would apply, if it's the full entity as one, or do we say no, Eiver Nachai is just as it is. Eiver Nachai. If you eat the whole thing, it's the whole thing. It's not Eiver Nachai. Interesting machlekes. We did clarify that machshava can switch things around, and then we have the sourcings for the Eiver Nachai, Basar Nachai, and Basar Treifa. Okay, all the best to you, and let's lach.